Hey guys, welcome everybody, it's Red Arrow 23 here. We're going to be doing the standard mortar wrap on Callisto. Let's jump straight in. I've been talking this out with the powder addict in the family, PA, and we've just been discussing all of the points that we're going to talk about. So this is BVD attacking Callisto. First thing he's going to do is clear these mines, and you'll see that he doesn't tag any of the mortars. It's probably not too much of an issue with flares being active the whole time we're up there, but good to know. So he's going to drop all his boats. You can collect these cells, it's not always necessary. Remember to check out your GBE before you start the hit. Make sure you can pull off the hit, and if you can't, maybe take a few cells from the right hand side. Obviously make sure they're free from rocket launcher range and all of that good stuff. So as you see here, when he flares down, some players will flare to the bottom right corner, and you see how he angles it in a little bit. The reason he does that is so that when he flares across, this flare isn't going to expire before he gets here. So that's really good to know. You don't want to flare into that corner and then have to flare this bottom left corner twice. Next thing you want to notice is sometimes there's some rocket launchers covering the beach, but these rocket launchers here do not cover the beach. See how the Zookas form? If you're doing a flare landing, they'll do exactly the same thing. And then on this Callisto, there are some rocket launchers a bit further down, and these ones here, and they are covering the beach. So you'll need to smoke exactly like BVD is here. And then you probably want to throw one more smoke before you then zoom in and throw your next flare. So there are two flare points that you can use here. One is exactly where he's dropped it, just below the mortar, quite close to the wall. Pretty much as close as you can get to the wall. The other one is straight up into this crack between the mortar and the flamethrower, and that is directly on the wall. So let's have a look. He did peek a little bit out the left hand side, so these rocket launchers all turned, and this one up here, but that's all good. You probably want to smoke a little bit tighter at the beginning, especially if there are machine guns around. You don't want to be this whilst the Zookas are finding their lines, you don't want the rocket launchers firing on you. And with those flares, those two flares that we discussed, you're not going to have to clear these mines, so don't worry about them. If you do miss this flare slightly to the left, yes, you will hit the mines. Right, let's slow this down. So you see on the reflare, before the Zookas reach that spot, you want to flare up into that crack right on the wall. And if you flare that crack on the wall and time it perfectly, you can do the next flare a little bit straight away. So this is standard, so you'll flare, re-flare, and then do your two smokes. The reason he throws the furthest away smoke first is because it's obviously got a little bit further to go. So if you throw that one first and then the lower smoke just above this mortar second, as quickly as you can as your double smoke, they're going to expire closer together, if that makes sense, because one's going to drop and then the next one's going to drop. It'll all happen really quickly, so it's going to be bang bang, but that'll definitely help. And then as the Zookas pass the first mortar, you want to flare onto the left flamethrower, and you'll see that these Zookas that are already in range are targeting it from the other side of the mortar, and some of the Zookas are sort of crowding around that one mortar. So the idea here is that we're all going to cram into this dead zone of the mortar, which is perfect. We want a nicely grouped Zookas. And then we obviously need to shock these flamethrowers and this mortar, this mortar in the center here, which I can't grab because of the smoke timer. These two mortars below, these rocket launchers are in range, these mortars are in range, and these rocket launchers are in range. There's sometimes rocket launchers over here as well. Just make sure you do a good scout out. Those are the 4 shocks he's going to need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sorry. 2, 3, 4, 5, yep. So let's see, around about, so you obviously want to flare on the core, never forget to flare on the core, and then the shocks are coming out. So bang, 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 bang. Obviously the rocket launcher flare shock is the furthest away, but you definitely want to get the flamethrower shock off first because they're going to fire as soon as the smoke clears. The mortars are close, so you might be better off going flame, mortar, and then rocket launchers up top. Mortar, rocket launcher, whatever works for you. Just note that the shock that's going up to the top rocket launchers is going to take a lot longer to fire than the other ones, or a lot longer to land. So now he's firing on the core, nothing's in range, maybe some single shot defenses around the core maybe. And then look at the timing on the critters. He actually fired them at 7 o'clock on his first shock. His first shock was on the flamethrower. It was about 7, 8 o'clock on the shock timer. And he's fired them either side of the Zookas. So you'll watch them land up top and down low. And that's just going to let those Zookas get an extra couple of shots off. And there we go. The critters were in range in the dead zone of this mortar, so it's going to fire straight onto the Zookas, but it's all good. You got a few more shots off due to those critters. I do suggest that you save them instead of throwing them first, because another shot with 80% of your Zookas, because they've been picked off by those single shots, is a lot better than saving those 8 Zookas by using the critters earlier. So here we go, we got Stefani, always around to clean up BVD's mess. And as you can see, she's got the GBE, she doesn't need to go and grab those cells. Same thing on the flare landing, they're all going to be under the rocket launcher range. But we are going to need to smoke as we get into this corner. Another smoke, and she flares up, right in that perfect spot. And she's going to be nice and tight smoking to begin with, and then she can start to lengthen out her smokes. So these ones could be a bit further apart, but that's all good. And see, on that timing there, if you are feeling like a baller, or if you had already flared up into this crack where the current flare is, round about when it's expiring you can flare directly onto the flamethrower, but remember they're going to spread. So it's usually safer just to spend an extra flare, like they do here. And she's thrown both those smokes in the opposite order. That's fine, we'll see how that works out for her. And unfortunately the flare onto the flamethrower is a little late, so the Zookas have spread. Some of the Zookas are already past that mortar, so they've gone right up, which has ruined the delay, but that's fine. Didn't forget to flare onto the core. Our shocks are going out. Bang, 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 and one more. Remember, it's going to take a lot longer to get there. Okay, so she ran out of GBE just because the smokes were quite thick earlier on, and then she's throwing critters to try and lengthen. And there we go, the core goes down. So nice work, Stefani. So those are the tips and tricks I got for you for Callisto today. That's straight out of the playbook. So give us a comment down below how you do it, if you do it differently. I'll be doing a video on the reverse mortar wrap for Callisto at some stage as well. If you do happen to take out the flamethrower at 9 o'clock, the one that we're using for this wrap, because you forget to flare the core or whatever reason, you can just go to 9 o'clock and shock from there. So give us a thumbs up and like the video, thumbs down if you didn't, and subscribe for more Boom Beach. Yeah!